Hi Elizabeth, this is Fancy, and the first thing you need to change about your design is the proportions of water and fire. If you recall from the introduction last week, what you want are large areas of water um, and small areas of fire. And so right now, as you stated, you are trying to achieve equal amounts of both. Um, Now I think this will be relatively easy to fix because I think your design is working overall. Um, Rather than fire and water, I think maybe it's sometimes easier to think about focus, out of focus. Large areas of water create kind of this out of focus, dreamy quality, while the fire provides kind of this in focus, sharp area in your design. So again, take a look at the video for more examples. So all of your areas are well defined right now. So they're all in focus for the most part. Um, Even this area here that contrasts blue with kind of these chromatic grays are somewhat still in focus, but you can see that this boundary is not as in focus as this, where you have the perceptual opposites um, next to each other. So again, to create fire, you want to have the perceptual opposites, so those colors on either end of your scale right next to each other in just a few small areas in the design. And you want those areas to be, well balanced and well distributed throughout the design. The other areas are going to take on kind of an out of focus um, feeling because you're going to have large areas that are chromatic grays. So those chromatic grays are 2, maybe 3 values in your scale, depending on how many steps you have, um, that that are gray. I mean, if you were to separate those chromatic grays from the rest of the scale, they would definitely look achromatic. Not in the same way that our achromatic grays look, but they would look, excuse me, achromatic. Um, so you're looking for those steps in your scale, and you're going to form large lakes through kind of these congregation or concentration of those values. So, like you have here, I'm trying to see which is your chromatic gray. Probably like this here, and maybe the 1 or 2 steps on either side of this particular color in your scale is your chromatic gray. So you're going to form most of these areas in your design from these chromatic gray areas, and it's going to push these boundaries between these different colors that you've set up or areas that you've set up between your perceptual opposites is going to push them out of focus. So a large part of these boundaries that are now in focus should be out of focus, but we still should be able to kind of form them through continuation because you'll give the viewer enough information so that they can kind of understand these boundaries in their mind's eye. So again, go through here and break up these boundaries with large areas of chromatic gray. So you have some started here. Just kind of expand these chromatic gray areas into these adjacent perceptual opposite areas that still feel like they're in focus. As for your interpenetrations, these are reading as figures on a ground. Um, but once you get, just concentrate on less contrast. See how low the contrast can go before it's no longer an interpenetration, before it kind of disappears or melts into its surroundings. So right now, these are too high in contrast. This one's not too bad, I think. at all. I think if it were to go lighter, it would disappear into its background. But it is kind of a blue surrounded by red. So you could perhaps push it one more step in your scale to see if you can even get it to be a little bit lighter. All right, so think large bodies of water versus small areas of water. Think out of focus for most of it rather than in focus as it is now. Hope that helps.